Somewhere in Europe.
Say a chef region.
Right there, here.
Sanya was so missa. Say yes, you come was Sanya will bomb Nika. Missa Toby Suo, where you're begging crying. May I want you no wasting time. No. Remember attitude. Remember full night, they no substitute. Remember see me dying when I come and Martin them. Namini Obia, Mama, show me the. No. Miss Leon Swash, yes, sir. What you went in the beja? Now, when you chick, when you shot, you when you slave.
That is beautiful. Great tonight. Nice to know that you're in London. When I heard you on the bill, I was excited. I was waiting to actually see you perform. First of all, 4 years of Ghana Music Awards UK. Your impression of it?
Well, I must say so far so good. I was privileged enough to be a part of the maiden edition. Came here, played my role, and I have been fortunate to be a nominee on on every other edition till this very year's edition.
Sure.
So my impression so far has been that the show keeps growing, it keeps improving, and as far as this very edition is concerned, I can see a lot of add-ons and a lot of upgrade on the sound quality, the stage, the lighting, the decor for the venue, even the choice of venue and everything. So I can see the event is here to stay and it's growing.
Beautiful. All right, so put together by Alodia Promotions and West Coast Entertainment. The show is here to stay, according to man like Samini Dagati, from Dankwansri to Untamed.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey, over 2 decades of being in the industry. And the last night you were honored as a legend who supported Ghana music and pushed Ghana music to the next level. What feeling does it represent to you?
It's always a great feeling to get the recognition, for your works, and when it's positive, then it's even for the better. So, we've been on road for, like you rightly said, almost 2 decades now, or not, if not more.
More than that.
And all we've been striving to achieve is to, make a mark, send the right message across to the world, entertain the world in general, and then, go home happy. And then again, feed your family, make good money.
That's right.
So it's been great, and it's always a good feeling to get that recognition.
Sure.
When you've been doing your 100% best and you've been putting in your all just to make sure this music thing works.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, in Ghana, we was the VGMA, and you were in that category for the Artist of the Decade, which actually went to Sarkodie on the night. Does this award you're given take off that? Are you satisfied with that? Because on the night, a lot of people, Ghanaians felt that you should have been given that award, Artist of the Decade.
Well, it's two different things here. This one was more of a non-competitive one, so I think more of an honorary something. It's different from lining up artists from different generations and having people vote to decide on who is the artist of the decade. Sometimes the criteria doesn't necessarily make it the artist of the decade. It's the Ghana Music Awards Artist of the Decade, by choice through the Ghana Music Awards platform.
Sure.
So there's a lot more. There's a broader audience out there. There's a bigger world out there that would not necessarily go by the Ghana Music Awards criteria to arrive at an artist of the decade. So I'll let that lie, and I would always congratulate who won out of our list of nominees, because at the end of the day, those who make it for the short list become the artists of that decade.
Sure.
So if I come from a decade before and I'm still a nominee within the list of artists of the present decade, that alone I think is an encouragement, is rewarding. So I keep it going. We're on to the next decade now.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We're looking forward to see you in the next decade, and of course that would give you somewhere around 40 something, right? And we'll still have that Samini pushing the agenda of Ghana music and reggae music. You talked about the world out there being the bigger picture for you. What do you have? I know that your song you have worldwide, which is a beautiful song I have in my car every time I listen to it. But worldwide, you have Samini Fest in Ghana. Do you have any shows out there that you intend to host? Something like a Samini concert for you and yours. I mean, featuring any other artists, but your concert for the rest of the world.
Yeah, definitely. I still have in the pipeline a tour that we're gonna execute as the time goes. I mean, I'm still pushing, still doing my music, still putting out records, still making sure the fans are entertained and excited everywhere they find themselves.
Sure.
Yeah, so definitely as time goes, you will see, you know, a road show with just me as the headline and then the rest of my people with me. You know.
You just came back from the US from the Guba Awards,
Yeah.
which gives me the impression that you're still pushing the music agenda across. This is a question that I always wanted to ask. Where have you not performed yet? Maybe India, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, I think India. I think India.
Most Ghanaians haven't been to that party. Most of the time, you come to Europe, give your fair shot in London, UK, and then you go to other parts. But how would you express yourself when you get to India or China or Taiwan?
Well, music is universal and it goes beyond language. So the moment your melodies and your rhythms connect with the people, you're going to find a way to communicate with them. So, and I am a performer, you know, so when you have the performance pedigree,
No doubt about that.
yeah, you're able to connect. Yeah.
Last night on the stage, you did a certain freestyle about Ibimuba Hatchet. You've been ready 5 years. You've been ready 20. 20. And that is something you do almost every time.
Yeah.
You creatively piece your words together. What inspires that?
It's been a part of me since childhood. I've always been the one in the house that would just come up with the most spontaneous jokes, who will come up with the funniest stories, you know, so I'm always able to keep to a storyline and execute it without a script. So this is just me putting melody to it because there's a beat in the background, and then we ride on with it.
Are you still going to star in movies? Because some time back you acted in a few movies.
So if you see me in a movie, then it's my own production.
Oh.
If you see me in
You're
a
not ready
movie,
to feature in any...
Nah. What it is here is that I'm a brand.
Sure.
I'm a public figure.
Sure.
Anything you put my face on is like my album.
Okay.
Anything you put my picture on as the big promo of the thing, it's like me selling it.
Okay.
So if I would have my face on something like that, it has to be mine.
Okay.
Because end of the day, whoever that's doing that production will head off with whatever there is that you're
It doesn't matter the charge.
meant to be. No, not necessarily. If it's an international movie, why not? If it's an international production outside of Ghana, why not? But if it's a local production, I have
has to
enough
be.
stories I've written down. I have enough, you know, we have high grade films,
Okay.
you know.
Right.
And if you see the Obra story like that, that's my story.
Okay.
That Lil Wayne actually came up with some of the, his part of the acting, which he did freestyle and off head, which is something I would give to him for also being a non-scripted actor. So to wrap up about movies and film, I have a lot of stories that I've written, so I've turned down a lot of scripts.
Wow.
Unfortunately,
How many
a lot,
scripts?
a lot. From when I showed up in a movie till today, movie directors always approach me, and unfortunately, I have to selfishly say I can't play a role in your movie.
Okay.
Because I have films that I'm gonna show a face, one or two, but really it's not about me. It's about getting the right actors and the right people on board and making sure a good film
high
is
grade
out.
films. We're expecting a movie from you pretty soon.
Expect Obra
Obra.
Yeah,
As a
expect
film.
an extended version of Obra.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, expect an extended version of Obra,
Yeah.
one of the biggest songs on the Untamed album. Talk about the Untamed album and reggae music. Your impression so far of reggae music in Ghana?
Reggae music in Ghana is where it needs to be right now, on the forefront, I should say, because from when we came in, we've never left off. And I had to find my way into the mainstream before I could, feel comfortable to do more reggae. So I had some reggae songs, but I had to commercialize myself and come to the forefront with songs like Linda, songs like Where My Baby Day, songs like Sweet Mistake, songs like
music and
all of that, all the Afrobeat and everything. But when you listen, you can tell this person is coming from a reggae background. So when I got the audience, then I realized I had to now finally give them a reggae album. And the reggae album is a hit album, which has different hit reggae songs on there, like My Own, Obra, Oba, and now exactly, and now Obra. I did My Own first, I did
Rainbow.
Oba, I did Rainbow, and now Obra. And all four kind of syncs well with my Ghanaian people.
Resonating with them.
Exactly. So it's not like a typical reggae song that they would feel like it's foreign, because I'm still trying to keep them with us. So if people like us are, as part of the top 5 ranking Ghanaian artists today on all genres, then you can say reggae is doing what it needs to be doing right now.
That is really recognized.
No disrespect to the likes of Kojoenchi, who would be classified as high life, but
that's
reggae as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, and the likes of Stoneboy and all
exactly. All of them are like in my era. Yeah,
I can't believe say I come in cool. Mama ya wa, the person me go promise to hey, Adam Wenuma, Master Oko Zinzinzi. Betes and we do there. What didn't do bina, Idian Tina, and Waki Kabum was I you. On your betes, Biano Bitesu, Waka Bitesa, or your officer Bites, we would chow salutes. See, Unuma, in with a yes, Anum Bites, Papa, no armor hangover so. I am paying for one, sir. Intin no man with a yes, Anum paying, sir. Bomatana, now was Sanka Officer Bites. Officer Bites, Officer be a guy. One to the mobile your film do what she. On your map him for so. Numanian Semu, Kai, one away a bedi and Kobites, one what the officer Bites Saba. Step Force Enterprise 0261 208 544 and a 0502 315 896. Democracy FDA Fahishem Mawajatum. Officer Bites, we a guy.
We're having a conversation with the man Samini, from Batman to Samini, and he's still here. Over 2 decades of being in the industry, and we caught up with him right here in London, Dagenham, after he was honored as someone who's played a major role in expanding Ghana music and throwing it to the rest of the world, reggae music for that matter. Let me just take your piece on the recent happenings in Ghana quickly before I talk about.
I haven't been in Ghana for 3 months or so.
Oh really?
So
I'm sure probably you would have heard.
Okay, let's see.
Well, it's coming from the camp of your brother Stone Boy and Kelvin Boy. You held Stone Boy's hand, I remember, way back in time, and he always gives you the props for that anytime he steps on stage, some way, somehow. The falling out of Kelvin Boy from Stone Boy's camp. What is your impression? What's your take on that?
It's another incident in the industry, and I believe that the industry has to be able to move on and embrace what has occurred, because in every situation you look at the positive as well as the negative.
Sure.
So they've worked together for a period of time. They've mutually realized that they need to part ways, and that has happened. And unfortunately, because of the power of the internet today and the media's involvement in people's lives, which is also their due work they need to do to serve whoever is interested. It just becomes clumsy because everybody brings in their takes, everybody brings in their opinions, everybody blames who they want to blame and all of that. But in reality, you don't expect Kelvin Boy to be under Stone Boy forever. Yeah, so there will come a point where they are gonna part ways. So let's take it as Kelvin Boy has finished whatever he's doing under Stone Boy, and he has to move on.
Some of the headlines that came with from Stone's interview was that he says Kelvin was ungrateful in that regard, and it's brought a lot of questions than answers.
That's entirely between them, and any utterance or any statement that comes from either of them is theirs to defend. I'm just an observer like you, and I can't be the one to defend or debunk any of their claims because they know exactly what went down, Okay. Yeah, but what I would say is that it's always good to look at the positive side and, bless people's efforts and let people, build up on whatever it is that they've gained from anything, because it would be unfair to draw negativity into any of this going forward, because careers are at stake and people have families to feed.
Sure. People have families to feed. But let me ask you about collaborations. I know you follow Ghana music. I know you listen to Ghana music as well. You've been here for long. There's a new crop of talent that are in Ghana now and are pushing the music. Who are some of the people you listen to and you think that these guys are actually pushing?
I listen to everybody. I listen to everybody and everything that I come across that's happening, as far as Ghanaian entertainment is concerned. So I know every budding new artist. I know every current artist that has arrived that has more than just one song. I know all of them. So what I can say is that fortunately it has become a very, very interesting and competitive season, but healthy competition, because I see these new acts working together, vibing together more than it used to be
back then.
Sorry.
Are they on the right path in terms of?
Of course. Most of these guys are self-produced and stuff. Whereas in our days, you would have to
find a producer.
You'd have to
go to Hash
and stuff. Yeah. So now it's a different era where you can't limit anybody's talent. You can't limit anybody's, potential, because the internet is ready to put you out there the moment you put your stuff on there. So that's what's happening now. So I would like to say big up to all the new acts, from 2015. Yeah, from 2015 till now. Yeah, it's been good, because there were times where it was just a few of us and then plenty of foreign music.
True.
Now you can listen to a Ghanaian radio and you can hear, if not 100%, 95% Ghanaian music.
That's a good journey.
It's not by force. They're not playing it by force. We've realized that the media needed content, so we had to push content in there. And naturally, there's more kids coming up now, producing more than they used to be. So the DJ has more options now than they used to ever have.
You of all your songs, and you're wrapping up in a bit, of all your songs that you're producing over, I think 7 albums, right? Are you gaining or getting royalties back home?
Of course. Of course. Not back home, not in Ghana.
I want to know about
Ghana. No. I know my royalties are piling up in Ghana, but I don't access that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's money for my family, my children. Yeah, that's what royalties is meant for.
Sure.
But physically, I see my international royalties every other 3-4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, beautiful one there. So Samini wrapping up. So when you come to London, what do you eat?
When I come to London, I still eat my Ghana food. I have family in London.
Okay.
I have a home here. So I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice food. All right, Samini, thank you so much. And any
man.
message out there to your fans as we go?
To the fans out there, keep supporting the music. Thanks for supporting me for all this while. We're still pushing, we're still here. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go subscribe so you'll be the first to know the notifications when we put out anything. You know, follow me online anywhere else, all my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you find Samini. And I say one love, blessed, keep supporting the movement, high grade family, and Chisa.
Worldwide music, Samini. Thank you so much for having us.
I can't believe say I come in Kumoe. Abanisa, mama ya wa, the person me go promise to enjoy me. I can't believe say I come in Kumoe. Abanisa, mama ya wa, the person me go promise.
And that's a wonderful header from the 6-yard box. Good ball back again. Can they find another chance? And this time the ball goes out. Keep it out. The ball back to the goalkeeper. A mistake and pass. Crisio with a chance there. And that's goal number 2. Time wasn't able to quite pick it up there. And the referee calls for the end of the game. The Green Beach came and don't just support your favorite team, bet on that winning team. With Soccer Bet, you take advantage of every game and make good money. Soccer Bet guarantees highest odds, unlimited payouts, immediate cash, best bonuses, and biggest promotions. With Soccer Bet, everybody wins. Soccer Bet, your best bet for sports betting.
The race to stardom on Ghana's biggest reality show has taken off.
Do you wanna be a star?
Full 4 accomplished music legends, Mr. Simons, Apietus, Eden, and Adina, as they mentor their talents to stardom. Don't miss the exciting journey as we discover a new music star to win a 2-bedroom house and the bragging rights of being the winner of TV3 Mentor Reloaded. It's time for the drama to unfold. Be at TV3 Studio B at 4 p.m. this and every Tuesday and Thursday for the live recording of TV3 Mentor Reloaded.
TV3 Mentor Reloaded. 4 celebrated mentors, just one winner. Mentor takes you higher.
Brought to you by Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Insecticide Spray, and Napamakrel, Fecal Spray Starch, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Cocoa Dairy Free Coconut Milk, Roma Insecticide Spray and Coil, Shine Tomato Paste, Vital Mineral Water.
Takrady was great.
I am so happy. I'm grateful to TV3 for giving me this opportunity to showcase what I do.
Kumasi was awesome.
This one is extraordinary because it's really fun.
And now, the most amazing and profitable experience.
The TV3 SME and Funding Summit Accra edition is here again. Date Thursday, 5th December 2019 to Sunday, 8th December 2019. Venue Junction Mall, Nungwa, Accra.
4 days of massive sales, profit, and discount on all products and services on offer.
Come by Ghana to grow Ghana. Benefits to your business.
Free consultancy and advice on funding opportunities and how to expand your business.
Free interviews on TV3, 3FM, and Onyo FM.
Free health screening.
Free eye screening.
Free makeup and so many giveaways and surprises.
Register now. Please call 0241 272 606 or 0242 334 554 or 0243 718 245. The TV3 SME and Funding Summit 2019.
Expand your network, grow your business.
The Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region.
Only 1.5 million liters of water is
The association recalls the high number of people arrested during the Nambalish front.
Some of them have started saying, "May that day Sambe Wami," but was it as simple as that?
The Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region.
Only 1.5 million liters of water is.
The association recalls the high number of people arrested during the Nambalish front.
Some of them have started saying, "May that day Sambe Wami," but was it as simple as that?
Hello, good evening and welcome to The Stance live here on TV3. My name is Parkus Yasari. Thanks very much for making a date with us here on the program. We're live from the News Hub at Adesawe in Kanda, Accra. You can also watch us live on your DSTV channel 279 and on Facebook Live. Tonight we'll be joined by my colleague Nuan Falong and Alfredo Kanse, both of the business desk. But before we delve into matters for tonight, let's begin with local news highlights. Tonight, government will not introduce new taxes in the 2020 fiscal year. Presenting the 2020 budget to Parliament, Finance Minister Kenneth Oriata said government will restructure the tax system by developing a comprehensive revenue policy and strategy to address the challenges of revenue mobilization. Also tonight, the Supreme Court has dismissed an application filed by the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu, which sought to enforce the Attorney General to retrieve judgment debts owed Waterville Holdings. The Apex Court in its ruling described the application as incompetent and had no basis on any rule of law.
But was it as simple as that?
Our Lady of Fatima, a private basic school at Pong in the Lower Manyakrobo municipality of the Eastern region, has been temporarily closed down. The closure, which will last for 2 weeks, is to prevent further spread of the H3N2 influenza. And Ghana coach Kwesi Appiah has called on the Black Stars to put smiles on the faces of Ghanaians after the warm reception they received while on the journey to Cape Coast. The Stars opened their 2021 qualifying series against South Africa on Thursday night, and the Stars are poised to start on a perfect note.
But was it as simple as that?
Right, so those were highlights of local news making headlines. Let's find out what's been happening on the international front today. And 2 U.S. diplomats told the impeachment investigation targeting President Donald Trump on Wednesday that he created an irregular channel to deal with Ukraine. William Taylor, the current top American diplomat in Ukraine, and George Kent, who oversees Ukraine affairs, said that over time they came to realize that Golani, the New York mayor, was acting at Trump's behest outside normal State Department confines, sidelining normal relations between Washington and Kiev.
But was it as simple as that?
Also tonight, the Trump administration proposed a regulation on Wednesday that would bar most asylum seekers from applying for a work permit if they enter the United States illegally. The proposal would allow immigration authorities to reject an asylum application or work permit request and migrants who miss related immigration appointments. Opposition to the plan is expected from immigration lawyers and former immigration judges. Now, a second Ebola vaccine is to be offered to around 50,000 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo as part of a major clinical trial. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be used alongside a vaccine made by Merck, which has already been given to around 250,000 people. More than 2,100 people have died in DR Congo in the second largest Ebola outbreak on record. And very finally, cross-border violence between Israel and militants in Gaza is continuing a day after an Israeli airstrike killed a Palestinian Islamic Jihad commander. After an overnight lull, rocket fire towards Israel resumed and Israeli aircraft conducted retaliatory strikes. Gaza's health ministry said 14 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire on Wednesday, bringing the death toll there to 24 since Tuesday. Well, that's it for the international news highlights for today. Remember, you're watching The Stance live here on TV3. We're streaming live on Facebook, also live on your DSTV channel 279. We'll take a short commercial break. When we return, we'll delve into the matters.
He has also recalls the high number of people arrested during the Nampa.
Some of them have started saying, "Mayor that day Sambe Wami," but was it as simple as that?
Look at a young man like you, your breast is even bigger than my wife's. Look at this for us. Watch like Ghana economy. Master. Bema Humbe send another ministers.
Yada Productions and Fidelity mobile app in collaboration with the National Theatre present a play titled Red Light.
Yes. The driver crossed the red light and hit her. Is that where we can get a bed for her?
It's not bad though.
Doc, emergency.
Yes,
Emergency.
emergency.
Yeah.
She was knocked down by a car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa. So is it a hit and run or a run and hit? Just why? Just Auntie, Jemu never show. Why?
Date 16th November 2019 at the National Theatre. Time 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Tickets cost 60 cedis single, 100 cedis double. Ticket outlets: Airport Shell, Batuna Total, Frankie's Osu, or call 0268 112 005. Main sponsors: Fidelity mobile app, Loyalty Insurance, Sunny Gold Gary Mix, and Magic Cooker.
A to Z Auto Servicing Limited.
Other sponsors:
Every day brings an opportunity for something better, like giving your child a better future by enrolling him or her in kindergarten at the right age, and creating a better future for him or her right from kindergarten. No excuses, no delays, no fears. Leave no child behind.
Leave no child behind. Enroll your 4-year-old child, including those with special needs, in kindergarten now for a better future.
FM, TV3, and Planet One Multimedia present the 3rd annual Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair 2019, bringing together all real estate and construction companies, home decor and furniture companies, CCTV security and internet service providers, gardening, lights, paints, doors, tiles, home appliances, kitchen and baths, and insurance companies to exhibit their products and services to the general public at the 3rd annual Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair 2019. Theme: Creating Homes Worthy of Living. Date: Friday 6th December to Sunday 8th December 2019. Venue: Alisa Hotel, Ridge. Time: 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day. To exhibit your products and services or to sponsor, call 0244 627 609 or 024 7922 Now, media partners: TV3, Onuya TV, Onuya FM, 3news.com, Daily Graphic, High Links Communication. Refreshed by Neutral Tiger Nut Drink and Papa's Pizza. Powered by 3FM and Planet One Multimedia. The 3rd annual Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair 2019.
Eji, me kwachi dompe no, emu tutu me papa. He, basa besi mechi. Afi me meti dompe no so emu jimsi ya wim.
Oh, any abeda hwai. Na me fa Polar Ice Gel antwetwon ema wo nompe mo nyo fom. Polar Ice Gel, eye pain relief na wo de twitwiw sisi. Wo nkoto dwe, wa chiri bramo, etimi ma ya wo no jai don hwiri bebre. Polar Ice Gel, emfa ntwitwi akwada wo nya mfie mienu.
So wo hwe container ne so a, wo da hu say red strip bi boso. A o ma tro ho. Unirock Polar Ice. Neto sumienu. Ube hu sticker bi wo container ne ho. Neto sumiensa. So we be a container no so a we be say for be catedral no so no so ya tro ho Unirock Polar Ice ni e chat to akra no so we share mu aso ni mu a we be say card bi wo mu ya tro so Unirock Polar Ice
for 0302 674755 and
0553 632 416.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by FDA.
Kick, and that's a wonderful header from the 6-yard line. Good ball back again. Can they find another chance? And this time the ball goes out. Keep it out. The ball back to the goalkeeper. And mistaken. Pass Grisho with a chance there. And that's goal number 2. Time wasn't able to quite pick it up there. And the referee calls for the end of the game. The Green Beach came and about winning. Don't just support your favorite team, bet on that winning team. With Soccer Bet, you take advantage of every game and make good money. Soccer Bet guarantees highest odds, unlimited payouts, immediate cash, best bonuses, and biggest promotions. With Soccer Bet, everybody wins. Soccer Bet, your best bet for sports betting.
Takrade was great.
I am so happy. I'm grateful to TV3 for giving me this opportunity to showcase what I do.
Kumasi was awesome.
This one is extraordinary because it's really fun.
And now, the most amazing and profitable experience.
The TV3 SME and Funding Summit Accra edition is here again. Date Thursday, 5th December 2019 to Sunday, 8th December 2019. Venue Junction Mall, Nungwa, Accra.
4 days of massive sales, profit, and discount on all products and services on offer.
Come by Ghana to grow Ghana. Benefits to your business.
Free consultancy and advice on funding opportunities and how to expand your business.
Free interviews on TV3, 3FM, and Onyo FM.
Free health screening.
Free eye screening.
Free makeup and so many giveaways and surprises.
Register now. Please call 0241 272 606 or 0242 334 554 or 0243 718 245. The TV3 SME and Funding Summit 2019.
Expand your network, grow your business.
The Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region.
Only 1.5 million liters of water is
The association recalls the high number of people arrested during the Nampalish.
Some of them have started saying, "Mayor that day Sambe Wami." But was it as simple as that?
All right, you're welcome back to the Stands live here on TV3. It's a weekly program where we get to interact with our journalists, our media men, to also share their thoughts on major stories that have been running throughout the week. And of course, today we've been very heavy on the budget presentation by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. All throughout the day, we've been covering it, bringing you back-to-back coverage from the House of Parliament and right here in our studios. My colleague Alfred Okanse and the rest of the business team were right here in the studio, while myself and the rest of the team were stationed at the Parliament House. So what's been happening today? Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has presented the 2020 budget statement themed Consolidating the Gains for Growth, Jobs, Prosperity for All. The first budget of the Akufo-Addo-led government as theme sowing seeds for growth and jobs. That for 2018 was themed Putting Ghana Back to Work, whilst 2019 the budget was themed A Stronger Economy for Jobs and Prosperity. Tonight we'll look at the plans to deal with revenue shortfalls and declining capital expenditure and see whether or not they are feasible. Right, so government says it will not introduce new taxes in the 2020 fiscal year. Presenting the 2020 budget to Parliament, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said government will restructure the tax system by developing a comprehensive revenue policy and strategy to address the challenges of revenue mobilization.
Mr. Speaker, as you can see, we have not imposed any new taxes.
He said
government would give the necessary support to the Ghana Revenue Authority to boost revenue collection to enable it meet its targets.
The focus will be on efficiency and base broadening rather than imposing new taxes on our people and businesses.
But the Communications Minister, Ursula Owusu, in her reaction, wants government to consider taxing mobile money profits made by the telecommunication companies to shore up national revenue.
What I have been advocating, and I'll continue to advocate for it, is that the revenue that the companies earn from the transaction fees that you and I pay, they're earning upwards in the region of about 80 million cedis every month, and they are paying nothing. Any company that operates and earns revenue in this country is required by law to pay taxes on it. So I'm urging GRA to sit down with them and work out some arrangement by which government can also derive its fair share.
All right, so apologies for that initial mix up there in the introduction, but if you just join us, this is A Stand, our weekly program here on TV3, where we afford our journalists and editors an opportunity to also share the views and opinions of running national issues. Today we've been very heavy on the budget discussion. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta was in Parliament to present the 2020 budget statement and economic policy, and my colleague in the studio, Alfred Okanse, he has been following this quite strongly. Alfred, so I know you monitored this presentation. What's your own view of the 2020 budget statement and economic policy?
Thank you, Pa. As always, good evening, and it's always good to be here. But I think that the summary, from my perspective, considering the fact that this is the first post-IMF budget for Ghana by this administration, and obviously the last for the first term of this Akufo-Addo-led administration, and to the extent that this is considered as an election budget, the number of things that you would have expected to see in there, economists have not been very excited about the level of capital expenditure going down, because if you look at it over the 2019 fiscal year and then the 2018 fiscal year, we've been down for about 44% in deviation of fiscal, capital expenditure. And there are those who argue that, look, if you cannot keep suppressing capital expenditure, for the lack of better expression, and want to still see a certain level, of development. So I was hoping to see more of an elaborate, plan for capital expenditure in this 2020 budget. But I think it was a bit flat, for the lack of better expression, on that particular score. For revenue generation, there are many who have described the 67.1 billion revenue target as overly ambitious, because if you look at this, that's for 2020 fiscal year. For the 2019 fiscal year, the revenue target was about 58 billion. And already the GRA did indicate us at mid-year this year that they had fallen short of about 5 billion for the mid-year target. So if all things remain as they are, or as we say, all things being equal, they may not, government may not meet the target set for this 2019 fiscal year. But you ask yourself, what exactly went into that particular target of 67.1 billion? Government is saying that, as you read earlier, they're going to roll out some measures that would help in increasing, revenue generation, over and above what we've seen over the period. And so for me, I'm looking to see those measures going forward into the next 12 calendar months that we have ahead of us, into an election year for that matter, and especially because new taxes have not been introduced, and so you would want to see government indeed come out with the detail of the innovative ways that they want to employ to actually increase revenue internally, and especially because of the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, we are expected to be very heavy on internal revenue generation. And so it's a problem if over the period you still are not able to achieve your revenue target. But that said, if you look at the revenue that we even generate, 40% goes into debt servicing, and about 30% is used for salary payments, and the rest for regulatory transfers. So that computation in itself also gives us a broader understanding of where we are going or what we are actually using our revenues for. Now, if you look at certain measures that were employed in the 2019 fiscal year to help us increase revenue, because we keep talking about expanding the tax net, and this is one particular thing that the 2019 budget contained, and the media budget review actually indicated that as well. I mean, but I always say that you cannot quantify what you haven't identified, or you cannot measure what you can't quantify and eventually haven't identified. So that if we're expanding the tax net, where are we expanding it to? I mean, if we expand it and we are not able to identify the taxable population, then we'll only be expanding it and not reaching any targets, because then we are not targeting specific persons. And that's why, you know, the introduction of the Ghana Post GPS, the national identification exercise, which was also supposed to help in identifying people who are supposed to pay taxes who are not paying taxes, and then also, you know, the tax identification number, the TIN, which the GRA has been very, very heavy on over the last few months, closing down companies and finding some of them as well. If you do a review of these three interventions that were meant to, you know, help increase internal revenue, you would say that some of them haven't really worked to the maximum expected, you know, levels. You know, for example, Ghana Post GBS, national identification exercise, is still facing challenges. You know, these were interventions that were supposed to contribute in identifying, you know, taxable population, that we know that if we're expanding the tax net, these are the persons that we are going to pay taxes, who can pay taxes, who are not actually paying taxes. So that's something that we could also look at.
Right.
The property tax, I know that, I mean, some time ago they piloted these drones to help in identifying property and then putting some rates to it. That didn't really work, you know. So property taxes is an area we can look at. I mean, these are some lands in prime areas that are not being utilized and are there. What are also those ones being used for? Why don't we consider ways of actually taxing them? So these are areas, I'm just hoping that, you know, as government said, they're going to look at innovative areas of generating revenue for this 67.1 billion target to be reached. We'll see how it goes.
You're still talking about taxation, and I mean, you know, for this particular government, you know, before they even came to power, they, you know, raised a lot of concerns about nuisance taxes, because we know the previous government had, you know, it kind of instituted very audacious tax policies. And, you know, then the NPP in opposition thought that some of them were nuisance taxes. And so once they came into power, they took off some of them. And now you're talking about taxing properties. I recently read something from Mr. Pianim, Kwame Pianim, suggesting that we could be taxing undeveloped properties, for instance.
There's so many of them.
I wanted us to take the discussion from the whole theme, you know, of the budget, which has to do with consolidating the gains that. But since you've introduced, you know, revenue generation, or that, maybe we could start from there. So essentially, when you look at the figures, government is projecting a revenue of 67.1 billion.
Yes.
Which is far in excess of what, you know, was targeted for 2019, which is about 54.6 billion cedis. And out of the 67.1 billion cedis for 2020, we know domestic revenue alone accounts for about 65.8 billion. And then the remainder is coming from grant disbursement from our donor partners. That's about 1.2 billion cedis. And interesting, when you compare that to the 2019 figure for grant disbursement, it was 833.1 million cedis. So you can see a little increase in the disbursements from our donor partners. Now, you know that since we became a lower middle income economy, certainly all those, you know, support that we've been having from our donor partners has had to, you know, decrease significantly. And so we're not having much coming in from our donor partners. And so that puts a lot of pressure on us as a country to get a lot more from internally generated funds. Now, out of this 67.1 billion cedis that we're targeting as revenue, government is hoping to expend some 85.9 billion cedis. And a chunk of this, like you mentioned earlier on, is going into wage bill payment, the wage bill, interest payments, as well as election expenditure for 2020. But you raised a very critical matter, which has to do with our revenue generation. Now, it would interest you to know that the finance minister indicated that one of the things that they're looking, moving forward at doing is to increase our tax to GDP ratio. Currently, is below 13% to somewhere around 20%. So currently, our tax to GDP ratio is 13%. They're hoping that it will increase to 20%. Now, essentially, tax to GDP ratio is a nation's, tax, in relation to its gross domestic product. So it's assumed that once your GDP is high, that your taxes will be high. Once your GDP is low, your tax will be low. Now, I did a bit of research analyzing Ghana's tax to GDP ratio since 2000.
I see.
The lowest we've had so far was 11% in 2000. That's our tax to GDP ratio. And since 2000, it's been increasing. The highest was in 2016, which was 17.6%. In 2015, it was in 2000 it was 11%, which is the lowest. In 2015, it was 17.2%, and then in 2016, it shot up to 17.6%, and that's the highest. Now, interestingly, our highest tax to GDP ratio in 2016 was far lower than the average of 21 African countries. Even our highest of 17.6% was far lower than the average of 21 African countries. Now, let me just give you, some of these countries, for instance. Now, it would interest you to know that this is 2016. Tunisia has a tax to GDP ratio of 29.4%. South Africa has a tax to GDP ratio, that's in 2016, 28.6%. Morocco, tax to GDP, 26.4%. Togo, our own neighboring Togo, tax to GDP ratio 2016 was 22.2%. Senegal 22%. Mauritius 20%. Burkina Faso 18.1%. Ghana 17.6%. So when you compare all these figures for 2016 alone, you'd notice that even our highest of 17.6% was lower than the average of all these 21 African countries. So it tells you that there's a lot of work there that we need to do. We need to increase our tax to GDP ratio. And I think that, one of the things we can concentrate on is value addition, production. They talk about production, for instance, and, industrialization, which the government is championing. You look at cocoa, for instance, a lot of work has been done now. The president was at the Africa Investment Summit in South Africa, talking about the fact that, look, Ghana and Ivory Coast together produce about 60% of the world's cocoa. But how much do we get, for instance? Switzerland, they don't produce any cocoa, but the kind of the economy for chocolate alone is worth about $100 billion. And we're just making about $2 billion. So I guess we both agree that we need to increase our tax to GDP ratio. We need to increase revenue generation, and a lot of measures have been. Okay, the producer was saying something.
Okay, so.
Okay, I forgot. Go ahead.
Well, yes. I mean, you've talked about the tax to GDP. I mean, yes. And the reason why I zeroed in on revenue generation is because really, I mean, we're getting into 2020, and as you said, this is an election year. Government will definitely be spending, and as a matter of fact, it's captured in the budget. This year, for instance, total revenue and grants in the first half of 2019 reached about 22.7 billion, below the projected 26.9. Okay, and there is the clear fear that 58.8 billion revenue target will be missed. And so if all things being equal, the revenue target will be missed. Government is saying that in the year 2020, although they hope to raise 67.1 billion cedis revenue target, they're actually hoping to spend 85.9 billion, suggesting that they would actually spend 18.8 billion more than the revenue that is expected to be generated in 2020. So that clearly tells you that, I mean, even though we have this target, spending would exceed revenue, or expenditure for that matter will exceed revenue.
But you also raise a critical point. I mean, all this revenue that we're raising, where is it going into? You know, well, and the key, key issue here is that, and you enumerated them, a lot of this is going to consumption,
as a matter of fact,
which is not generating much. Capital expenditure, like you mentioned, has been, reduced significantly. And so we have the free SHS, for instance. We have a chunk of the, we have the banking sector reforms, and as the finance minister stated, the cost of the banking sector reforms added to all the legacy debt over the period is somewhere around 33 billion cedis to the taxpayer. That's a whopping 33 billion cedis.
Oh yes, the legacy debt. Actually, the total cost of the cleanup, he put it to 16.4 billion.
No,
in addition to
the legacy debt, it says about 33 billion.
So those, there are two components put together. So if you look at the total cost, I mean, updated cost we have right now, as he mentioned, was 16.4 in addition to legacy. Then you get the 33 billion that you're talking about. Yeah. But yes, that, I mean, the gains of this banking sector cleanup, juxtapose it with the cost. So you do a pros and cons analysis and find out whether indeed it was worth going or expending this money in there. Some other think otherwise. But if you look at the kind of situation that we have saved ourselves from, according to the finance minister, and many who indeed believe that this was a very necessary venture, then all things being equal, we could have actually lost more if we had allowed the situation to remain as it is. So there's expenditure that is necessary. The point I'm trying to make is that if you look at the breakdown of what actually the revenue is used for, 40% actually goes into debt servicing, and the interest on the loans that we have acquired as a country, 30% goes into salaries, and then the rest regulatory transfers. Clearly, if we want to generate revenue, we must know where we are putting our money and the results thereof. Because we will generate the revenue. Look at the ports. Today I was talking about the ports because when we introduced the paperless ports, in 3 months, the first quarter after the introduction, we saw an astronomical increase in revenues from the ports. That clearly tells you that intervention was necessary. Okay, I know that the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at Legon is doing some work on the total benefits that we have actually gained as a country in introducing the paperless ports to regulate, revenue generation at the ports and other measures. So I'll wait for that particular results and find out how significant it has actually been in contributing to a revenue generation. Because in effect, there are those who also raise questions about tax exemptions. And I remember, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, we were having a conversation about these tax exemptions and how it's increasing over the period. I didn't hear anything. You were in Parliament. I listened and watched over here. I didn't really hear anything about the AGI, for example, saying that government should take a look at the tax exemptions as to whether indeed it is necessary. I mean, the Free Zones Board, Free Zones Authority, I beg your pardon, thinks that our tax exemption regime is actually lower than other countries, even within the sub-region. And so even reviewing it and making it going down further is not going to help the situation in terms of attracting investors into the country. Okay. But then if you give these tax exemptions to companies who come into the free zones enclave with a particular business module, they get in and then the business module changes and they get into retail and other areas. The objective of giving these tax exemptions is defeated because we are not gaining anything as a country.
All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about these gains that the government is trying to consolidate. Since the NPP took power in 2017, Let's just look a bit of. Let's look at the figures, for instance, in terms of macroeconomic stability, which the finance minister talks a lot about. So we've seen growth averaging around 7% compared to 3.4% in December 2016. Inflation, for instance, we know as at September is at single digits, that's 7.6%. From the 15.4% that they inherited in December. You look at the treasury bill rate, for instance, it's currently around 14.7% from the 17% that 17% in December 2016. You take a look at the fiscal deficit, for instance, and over the last 3 years, it's been kept below 5%. And just at September 2019, we know that it was about 4.5%. When you look at the inflation, the fact that we have a single-digit inflation, I think it's good news. Obviously, inflation over a period is a general increase in price levels over a period of time. And so once you have inflation coming down, it's good because then your purchasing power also increases. In terms of the treasury bill rate, I mean, from about 17% in 2016 to 14.7%, that's interesting. That means that, look, we're not seeing that much of government borrowing on the local market, which often will crowd out the private sector.
Well, that's actually...
You don't expect any bank to lend below the treasury bill rate. Now we're seeing interest rates hovering around 23, 24%, and that's positive news for the economy. You wanted to say something quickly, just come in.
With respect to the issue of, all these factors, inflation, the reduction in the treasury bill rates and others are supposed to directly feed into, the cost of credit, all things being equal, but then again, there are other factors that banks consider in computing their interest rates on the loans.
To be fair, interest rates have come down. I mean, from about the average of 30%.
But then again,
to somewhere around 23, 24. It can be better, but
absolutely.
It's good. It's good. I mean,
it is if you want to be very charitable to the banks, but really, when you speak to them, other factors that goes into the computation of the rates, the interest rates on the loans that they advance to the private sector. Because when the first budget that this administration read, and I think the 2018 budget as well, clearly gave a signal that government was committed to reducing the cost of credit. But if you juxtapose the reduction over the period, over 750 basis points, okay, that has influenced this whole
reduction in what? You're talking about the policy rate?
In the policy rate. And this is the rate that the banks actually do borrow from the central bank, right? You will not see the same rate of reduction, if as the banks are advancing credit to the private sector. You don't expect that it actually will be the same over 750 basis points. No.
But Alfred,
the point is that there are other things.
But you're just saying that we're coming from a period where we had interest rates somewhere hovering around 30, 35%.
You see, but
now if interest rates have come down to about 24, 25%, that should be good news.
As against the over almost 800 basis points reduction in the policy rate. I mean, if you want to go into that analysis,
I think the finance minister did allude to the fact that it can get better.
Yes, that's actually the point I'm making.
But there are a number of factors, like you mentioned, that would go into
for example, the levels of risk which the banks actually take into consideration, which is understandable. The point I'm trying to make is that I am not overly, being critical of the banks in having their interest rates at that. And I would ascribe to every other position that would say that it could get better. In fact, it has to get better if indeed the trend continues. If we continue to see a reduction in the policy rate, it has been maintained over the period. If we see a reduction, then we must see some responses from the bank. But the other point that you make about government, now the market's actually being freed up for the private sector to be able to borrow, it's actually contrary to the Bank of Ghana's report 2 months ago, I saw the banks are more comfortable now lending to government. And I must tell you that the private sector is still, to an extent, crowded out in the credit market. They are still not having, real access to the credit. I mean, the cost of credit now, really, the banks are finding it more convenient to lend to government. And so I am hoping to see government getting out and allowing, not crowding out the private sector, allowing the market, freeing up the market for the private sector to actually do business.
All right,
so
you're still watching The Stance live here on TV3. My guest in the studio, Alfred Okanse, is with the business desk here at TV3 and myself. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll do a lot more of the budget analysis.
But was it as simple as that?
Takrade was great.
I am so happy. I'm grateful to TV3 for giving me this opportunity to showcase what I do.
Kumasi was awesome.
This one is extraordinary because it's really fun.
And now, the most amazing and profitable experience.
The TV3 SME and Funding Summit Accra edition is here again. Date Thursday, 5th December 2019 to Sunday, 8th December 2019. Venue Junction Mall, Nungwa, Accra.
4 days of massive sales, profit, and discount on all products and services on offer.
Come by Ghana to grow Ghana. Benefits to your business.
Free consultancy and advice on funding opportunities and how to expand your business.
Free interviews on TV3, 3FM, and Onyo FM.
Free health screening.
Free eye screening.
Free makeup and so many giveaways and surprises.
Register now. Please call 0241 272 606 or 0242 334 554 or 0243 718 245. The TV3 SME and Funding Summit 2019.
Expand your network, grow your business.
Hello, welcome to News at 10. We're live from our studios here at Adisaudi.
When you miss News 360 at 7 p.m. because of a busy schedule, we'll serve you again with a smart recap tonight at 10 p.m. with a detailed dissection of the major news of the day, so you are never left behind.
They punched my face, used the gun to hit my wrist.
News at 10. News with a broader perspective.
My name is Stephen Enti. See you tonight at 10.
The Talented Kids Fun Tour ignited Accra and Takrade with so much fun. Hello, Kumasi.
It's time to party with your favorite TV3 Talented Kids celebrities. Get ready for the biggest family and kids fun fair of the year, the TV3 Talented Kids Fun Tour.
On Saturday, November 16th, 2019, at the Ratchery Park from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Come dance, cheer, and have a personal interaction with your adorable TV3 Talented Kids celebrities. And the showmaster himself, Famiye, will also be around to keep the fun alive. Come and be part of the dance, rap, singing, and spelling competition with bouncy castles, face painting, plus a lot of play items at your disposal. And
here is a great business opportunity for entrepreneurs as thousands of children and families gather at the Ratchery Park on the 16th of November 2019.
So please call 0244 181 899 or 0243 551 367
to exhibit your products and services.
Talented Kids Fun Tour 2019. Still, you are free to play.
One ball a day, one ball a day, one ball a day. Can you rise up on your feet? Come on, join us, everybody. Come on. Listen, I got me, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Celebrations 2019, coming soon on TV3.
Mayor that day Sambe Wami. But was it as simple as that?
All right, you're welcome back to the Stance Live here on TV3. Tonight we're taking a look at the presentation of the 2020 Budget and Economic Statement by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. I'm here with Alfred Okante. We're taking a look at some of the issues that were raised in the 2020 budget. Although there were no new tax introductions, one thing was clear, that the Finance Minister intends to implement a number of policies that would see us increase our revenue generation. There are plans to essentially look at the whole tax administration, to broaden the tax net and to have a lot more people paying taxes instead of putting pressure on the very few people. Also, the Finance Minister was quite clear that there was also a need to increase our tax to GDP ratio. Currently is below 13%, and we're targeting about 20% moving forward. Alfred, moving into 2020, a number of targets. We're looking at real GDP growth of about 6.8%, non-oil growth 6.7%, inflation 8%, fiscal deficit 4.7% of GDP, primary surplus of 0.7%. The big question is, particularly for fiscal deficits, and as we all know, in election years, governments are always tempted to overspend their budgets. Thankfully, we have a fiscal responsibility law in place. Will we keep to this?
Well, government is confident. The Finance Minister, the President, over the last 48 hours, have reiterated that commitment to obey this law and also adhere to the advice of the Fiscal Responsibility Council that has been established. And I think it would be very, very unfortunate and a clear detriment to the Ghanaian people if after a law has been established, a committee has, in fact, a council has been put in place, then we go ahead and still violate the law with impunity. I mean, that clearly wouldn't. I mean, these interventions were just to help us and keep us in check. We certainly don't need the IMF to always, come in to tell us what to do. And I think even in 2016, the IMF was with us. We exceeded our deficit in an election year. I'm just hoping that we'll demonstrate some responsibility, fiscal responsibility, so that there would be a difference in 2020. That we said we were going to have a cap of 5%. We didn't go below it. And the 4.5 that the Finance Minister talked about, as she said, is commendable. The minority contested that they don't believe in the computations of that particular 5%. And so that's a position they hold on to. But my point is that we have put self-checks in place. Nobody put pressure on us to put that law in place. Nobody indeed told us and put pressure on us to put a council in place. We deemed it necessary and fit to put in these measures and these structures in place to keep us in check. That's why we did it. I think the most reasonable thing to do is to go by our word. Let's just see what we said we will do, and that's it.
Well, I guess essentially that's because over the years we've seen this trajectory. We've seen this governments often within their first years, they chalk all these beautiful successes, growth rate, inflation rate, single-digit inflation, treasury bill rates going down, and then suddenly in election years, expenditure just spirals, and then we come back to the same point again. So, I suspect that was the rationale behind, coming up with this law to put a check on us.
We've had a penchant of putting together laws and not obeying it, and that's why I'm saying that we can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. I mean, if it's an election year, do we have to necessarily always, have to exceed our deficit, throw the country into this state, and then after 2021 we start the whole cycle again, trying to revive what we have lost? Come on, we can't move forward. We can't move forward one step and take 20 steps back. That's a vicious cycle of very backward mentality. And that's not certainly good for the kind of path that we want to take.
And one thing that's also commendable is that we've seen some improvements in the trade deficit. I mean, it's moved from about $1.8 billion in 2016 to some $2.6 billion in August 2019. And that is amazing that we're not having that. Essentially, I'm talking about trade deficit. We now have a trade surplus, actually, and it's positive news. It will help in showing up the value of our currency.
Well, yes, but in fact, the global economics and policies are geared towards answering the question of sustainability. It's not just about chalking these successes and putting these figures out, which I must admit are indeed commendable. It is not just about the now. How sustainable are these gains? That is the critical question that we should be asking and demanding to see the clear structures, policies, mechanisms in place to sustain these gains. It's just a matter of time. 12 months is ahead of us. You see, there is a very, very difficult, situation of balancing act of the national budget against people's expectations, especially in an election year. So if this government is able to scale over that hurdle of balancing the budgetary, projections against people's expectations, then we would have, something to say. And so I am saying that let's begin the fiscal year with some optimism and hope that they will just do what they said they will do, so that we can see some sustainability. I am very interested in asking the sustainability question of every gain that this government has made. That's my concern, and that's where, for me, I stand. Okay, for example, NAPCO, right? It's been 13 months. Well, last month was about 12 months we introduced NAPCO, okay? This intervention was supposed to solve unemployment partially. The president gave an order during the one-year celebration of NAPCO that these NAPCO trainees should be the first point of call when there is any employment opening in the private sector. If indeed that's the case, then we would actually see some benefits to it. But we had over 95,908, that's the figure of NAPCO trainees, who were paid 700 cedis every month. Simple calculation. If you multiply 95,000, but if you can help me with that even, multiply 95,000 by 908, and then you multiply that by 12, you will get the total amount of money, all things being equal, that has been spent on these NAPCO trainees. If we juxtapose that with the gains that we have made over the 12 months that these NAPCO trainees have actually been working, we will make some sense out of it, whether indeed it was worth devoting this money and paying these trainees. How are we even measuring their productivity? I believe that the 12 months when we were celebrating the 1 year, one of the things I was expecting was to see a productivity report that this 95,908 trainees who were paid 700 cedis, our money, were able to achieve the number of targets that were given to them. Because remember, there were modules under NAPCO, the revenue module and others. I'm sure these revenue people were given targets. Were they able to achieve it? Then we do a critical review of such government programs so that when we're devoting money again in the next budget, 2020 fiscal year, we will have enough justification to say that, look, NAPCO was paid this amount, they brought in something more than that, and so we should continue, the program. That is the kind of conversation that I believe that would help us all going forward. Okay, we need to move forward. We need to wrap up the conversation, but there's quite a lot more that we could have spoken about. So this is where we wrap up. I think one thing is clear, that every year would have the budget being read.
I think since I started monitoring the budget, we've never had a budget surplus. In fact, it will never happen, you know. It will never happen. So often we project to spend an amount of money, you know, or raise an amount of revenue. Meanwhile, expenditure is always more than the revenue. So we need to get money from somewhere, you know, to help us to expend that extra amount. Then that will constitute our deficit, and we need to fund that deficit. We need to find money from somewhere to fund that deficit, and that's always been the problem. The challenge for us, like you said, and like we all agree, is that we need to increase revenue mobilization. We need to. And for me, I think that the finance minister's challenge, which he himself has given, is the fact that we need to increase our tax to GDP ratio. And currently below 30%, we need to move to 20%, and then we'll see what policies they're going to put in place for us to meet that target. Well, that's it for The Stance. It came to life here from our studios at TV3. My name is Parkus Yesari. Thanks very much, Alfred, for your time. God willing, we'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.
The Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region.
Only 1.5 million liters of water is
The association recalls the high number of people arrested during the Nambalish.
Some of them have started saying, Mayor that day Sambe Wami. But was it as simple as that?
This program is brought to you by
Cerelac, now with Iron Plus, big nutrition for small tummies.
Out Multipurpose Insecticide Spray and Quell,
Princess range of products.
Brooklyn Hair Relaxer.
Regalo la emoción que sentí al ver nacer a mi primer hermano. La sonrisa de mamá al verme deletrear sus primeros pasos, los poderes de sus dioses, sus odios y sus anhelos. Mi futuro, mi voz, mi aliento, solo quiero ponerlo en tus manos. Y a medida que pase el tiempo, tú comprendas que te amo. Con el tiempo entenderás que es amor.
There are men of the army who want me dead, but I don't know anything. Look here, Owen. Look at me. I'm a man of the army, and what you're claiming isn't true. You happen to have a lot of information, which is why we really need you to give your testimony, not only for Belki's safety, but for yours as well, Raul. For me, you've no right to hold me here. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? Because you used the identity, you stole his belongings.